गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री Gurave Namaha. We are in chapter 5, Pancadasi, and we saw the first verse in the last class, and this chapter is about Mahavakya Vivek. Mahavakya means those statements of truth which come in the Upanishads, in the Vedas. And the first one that was taken is Prajnanam Brahma, and with this the two words Prajnanam Brahma in this sentence is not complete. No sentence is complete without a verb. So the verb is automatically, in Sanskrit language we take it to understand that it is Asti. Prajnanam Brahma Asti. Prajnanam is Brahman. Now what is this Prajnanam and what is this Brahman? So these two words have been analyzed, meaning not analyzed. The teacher is teacher is teaching us how to think about it, so that we come to the conclusion that this consciousness is Brahman. See? So one is, what is consciousness and what is Brahman? Total consciousness is Brahman. Individual life principle, if we may call, that is consciousness. So first we have to catch this consciousness as I am, and then this consciousness has to be recognized as one without a second. So first step is Prajnanam. So we saw that in the last class. Here it says, Yenekshate shrunotidam jighrati vyakaroti cha swadaswadu vijanati tat prajnanam udiritam. This is the first verse of 5th chapter. So it says, that by which one sees, hears, smells this world of objects, and that by which one speaks, tastes the good and the bad taste, is called Prajnanam. That is consciousness in this Mahavakya. So what is that consciousness? Eyes. A dead person with his senses is not able to comprehend the world. So who is illuminating the objects of the world? The eyes are illuminating the objects. But can eyes by themselves, if we take the eye and keep it there, can it see the world? It is not possible, isn't it? So what is that life principle behind? What is that consciousness behind the eyes, which is expressing as the seer through the eyes? See? If there has to be a mind behind the eyes, in order for, because eyes don't take the images for themselves, they take it for the mind. And mind, if the seer is in the mind, if the seer is in the mind, then who is this mind illumined by? That by which the senses are illumined, the mind is illumined, the intellect is illumined, that is called Prajnanam. So this Prajnanam Brahma, it comes from the Aitreya Upanishad of the Rig Veda. And here we have seen that eyes, here the word, Yena ikshate shrunoti idam Ikshati, idam shrunoti, idam jigrati, idam vyakaroti cha. Means the eyes see this because of the consciousness behind. The ears hear this. This means the world. This is not just one object, it is the world. Because of the consciousness, the nose smells because of the consciousness behind. Vyakarotija, the mouth speaks because of the consciousness behind. Swada swadu vijanati. Because of this consciousness, the tongue is able to know good, tasty and not so tasty things. Is also because of this consciousness. And vijanati. Vijanati, everything is known. So first the senses were taken care of, then the organ of speech was taken care of. Now vijanati. So knowing and not knowing is also because of this consciousness. See? So now which is this consciousness? I thought knowing is consciousness. No. This consciousness is because of which the mind or the intellect comes to know various things and also comes to know their absence. So that which is transcendental to knowing and not knowing is this prajnanam. See? Is this prajnanam. And in this way, the senses, by them, the objects, we went into detail last class, the objects cannot show themselves unless light falls on them, isn't it? In darkness you cannot see the objects. So something needs to, the light needs to reflect on various objects, only then you will be able to see the objects. You will be able to perceive the objects. So what is that light? Oh, you may say sun's light. No, it is your light. Your eyes are throwing the light on the objects, therefore you are able to perceive the objects. Your ears are able to throw the light of consciousness. Because of that, you are able to hear the words, and so on and so forth. Exactly the same way, we know the emotions are coming in us, emotions are going away. We know concepts are getting formed, concepts are going away. So throughout our life we have gone through that. And we know that it has happened. Then who is throwing the light on all these concepts and ideas and the emotions, because of which you were able to cognize that, because of which you are able to remember that, of their presence within you? That I am angry. How do you know that I am angry? You don't say, I am making the blood flow. Do you say? Do you say I am making my eyes blink? Do you say I am making hunger come? We don't say that.
It happens.
It happens. Yet, I am angry. I am feeling very loving towards you. I am feeling the emotion of jealousy. I am confused. Oh, now clarity is there. So here the I has come, that I am aware. I am aware. So some other principle is there which is not other than yourself, in whose presence, in whose illumination, this thought that I have clarity, that I am confused, that I am happy, all these are coming and going, isn't it? So recognize this. But what happens normally to us? We get lost, we get identified with the mind, and we start functioning as the mind. Whereas when we inquire into this various Mahavakyas, here especially in this Prajnanam Brahma, it is being told to us that this Prajnanam is not the I that you are talking about. It is the absolute I. It is the Sakshi. It is the one which is transcendental to seeing or not seeing, hearing or not hearing, tasting or not tasting, knowing or not knowing. That in whose presence all these things are going on. In fact, you can even go one step further. It is that consciousness in whose presence, because you know that yesterday you were a waker, you were a dreamer, and you were a deep sleeper. Today also you know you are a waker. Now after some time in the class or after the class, you will become a dreamer or deep sleeper, isn't it? We will go through that. So who knows that these three came and went? When we look at totality, yes, we know. Yeah, man, that is true. I know I was awake yesterday. I was dreaming yesterday, and I was sleeping also yesterday. But when it is happening, we are so identified with the waking world and the waking experience that we forget that we are someone else. When we are in the dream is so enchanting or whatever, its impact is so much that we forget that in my presence the dream is expressing itself. And deep sleep is total ignorance. So that one in whose presence all these three are coming and going, waker, dreamer and deep sleeper, that is prajnanam, that is consciousness. Another way of putting it, consciousness is all knowledge that takes place. How does knowledge take place within us? Knower, known, knowing. Three have to be there, isn't it? Seer, seen, seeing at the senses, sensory level, feeling level, feeler, felt and feeling, and at the intellectual level, knower, known and knowing. So, who is this consciousness? Who is knowing that this triad is taking place? Because of this triad, thought comes in the mind, isn't it? Without the triad, thought cannot come. And thoughts are continuously coming in your mind. You are knowing it even right now, that thoughts are appearing. What thought, what I am saying, and maybe an internal commentary on those thoughts. It happens, isn't it? So don't identify with the thought that is coming. Be the one in whose presence the thought is coming. This is the first stage of recognizing that the prajnanam. This is reclaiming your truth. Reclaiming your truth. But we get lost. We again, this happened, that happened, this is going on, that is going on. I am sad, I am happy. We continuously are in that flux. We are not. Let the mind be in flux. Let the mind be in flux. But internally, you must be always in that poise that everything is happening in my presence. I am the witness of everything. This is the first stage. And in this way, if we say our Ramana Maharshi is looking, someone asks a question and he is sitting and he is thinking, he is looking away. It must have happened to you also many times, that you are sitting at home and your eyes are looking outside, but where is your attention? Is it on the outside? It's gone in. Your eyes are illuminating everything, but nothing is getting, there is no precipitation of thought. We usually tell he's in the gaga world, isn't it? Or he's lost the plot. But it is not so. Some people may have lost it, but we know that for that moment when all my senses were open, I was available to, the world was available for the senses, but I was not available to function through the senses, isn't it? So nothing registered. you have, that is the consciousness. So you know that you were not available.
Like how husbands have selective hearing.
It's the other way around also.
When you say you, you're meaning the mind.
No.
No,
Consciousness.
I mean, you're witness
Consciousness.
of the fact. Consciousness is aware that mind wasn't available, even though the senses were there, open, world was available, but my mind wasn't there.
No, this is where we are going wrong.
Right.
This is where we are going wrong. Through the senses, mind is functioning, right? How do I know that senses are existing? Through the mind. So that means I know there is a I because the thought called I is there in the mind, isn't it? So I know there is a nose, there is smelling, there is tasting, there is thinking, there is emotion. How? Because I have these thoughts in the mind, isn't it? But when we internalize, just now the example that I gave, the consciousness is not available. So even though when consciousness is expressing through the mind, when it expresses through the mind will express through the senses and it will perceive the world. But what has happened? You have internalized. You have gone back to yourself. Sometimes it happens to us. I'm not saying it happens to everyone. So you are open, but when you say the mind is not there, means the thoughts are not there about anything. Just you are. You're just watching. Everything and nothing.
Isn't there also a state in meditation?
Yes, same. This is called open-eyed meditation of Raman Maharishi.
But what is the difference between daydreaming and the consciousness? Isn't it supposed to be always in everything?
Yes.
That's how it sees itself as, the little I as not being, the ego I, which is the little I which is expressing through in the form of mind, is being perceived by the big I, the consciousness, as being absent because it is preoccupied with.
That is called knowingness. So that is the first stage of being aware. That is the first stage of being aware. That things are happening, but I am the sakshi, I am the witness. And what happens at this stage? That I go through the world without getting affected by anyone, nor affecting anyone. It's a totally, disconnect with everything. So that is the first stage. First stage is the thought coming that I am the sakshi. So that is a knowingness. And then it will lead to abidance when you recognize, when your thought flow has subsided a bit, then you will recognize that I know that I am not the mind is also a thought in the mind. I know that I am not the mind is also a thought in the mind. When this has to click.
So how to cut?
No, that will only happen when you slow down,
But
when the mind slows down.
Yeah, but isn't there also a thought of the mind that I know I'm not the mind?
Correct. So I am knowing the mind and I am not knowing the mind. These both thoughts will be known by you, someone else. Someone is illuminating you. But this is what I am saying. As long as the mind is too fickle, we will not be able to catch. So when you said that it happens in meditation also, what happens in meditation? Everything slows down, isn't it? So whatever thought comes, first I was thinking that I was knowing the thoughts. But even that, when the mind has slowed down and you come to this conclusion, this realization that even that thought is a product of the mind alone, at that very moment you will drop identification with it. Then you will not make an attempt to speak to yourself through your mind, to conclude something. There is no conclusion. If you conclude, thought will come. If you don't conclude, thought will come. You have to recognize that you are the one in whose presence this drama of the mind is going on. But the first expression of it is knowingness. That I think my mind is becoming slow. I think I'm watching that nothing, if there is something or there is nothing, nothing is disturbing me. Good thoughts or bad thoughts are not disturbing me. Good past memories are not disturbing me.
That's it. The moment you think that, it starts a deluge of things, isn't it? The moment you think, oh my God, the mind is so quiet, and that's it, immediately
No, so but at that time you have to change the dialogue with yourself. Because see how, even just to tell me how emotionally you said, oh my God, the mind is so quiet. You lost the plot
yes, exactly.
because you reacted to it.
The moment you think about
So you have
being
to,
quiet,
so
you've thought that thought.
so
and
you have to
finished,
be
peace is
quiet.
gone.
So you have to be quiet.
Uh,
Oh, the mind is quiet. It should be a neutral statement in the mind. If it comes with even a little bit of emotion, or a little bit of fear, or a little bit of excitement, oh my God,
Yes.
fantastic, gone,
yes.
gone.
Overdoing it.
I know.
Huh, because we get excited.
Exactly.
But you don't say, oh my God, I went to sleep.
Yes.
You don't. So, this Sakshi, this consciousness, which is ever, it has never come, it has never gone. Waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, they come and go. The waker, dreamer, and deep sleeper, they come and go. Waking world, dream world, and deep sleep world, they come and go. But the one who knows that these three have come and gone is the prajnanam, is the consciousness. And we are not looking for someone out at the totality level. We are looking for that consciousness as the self within. Because this, I become the waker, I become the dreamer, I become the deep sleeper every day. And it is my experience that in my presence these three are coming and going. So in this way, the last sentence was Vijanati tat prajnanam udiritam. Vijanati. Vijanati means knowing. Knowing and not knowing are also illumined by this prajnanam, by this consciousness. Without this, where does knowing and not knowing take place? It takes place in the mind or intellect, whichever way you put it. Huh? So there is knowing which takes place through thoughts, and there is not knowing, which is also eventually known as through a thought only. Because not knowing is the deep sleep state. When you wake up, you say, oh, there was nothing, I had a deep sleep. In deep sleep, you don't know that you are not thinking, isn't it? So in this way, this prajnanam is that principle which never comes and goes. It is permanently, constantly is there as the presence, as the self, and in its presence the limited consciousness comes and goes, the limited I comes and goes, the triad comes and goes, the concepts, ideas, emotions, perceptions, they come and go, waker, dreamer, deep sleeper, they come and go, but this consciousness that I am, essentially, it ever is, because whatever I just now mentioned, they are all known by me. So that one who knows all this, at this moment you are that consciousness. At this moment you are that. But now question is, are we able to stay steady with it? See? Are we able to stay steady with it? So even when we are listening, we should not just keep intellectualizing it. The words are only the means. Let it transport you while listening to that conscious principle that you essentially are. Not any consciousness which is coming and going, but take that total position. Arey yaar, all the Swamiji is bakofying, meaning he is blabbering. All words are thought, all the words or thoughts are just coming on my mind and going away. Nothing important. You should not give too much importance. If you give importance, you are stuck in the intellect. Let it come and go. Because all these words that are coming and going, they are indicating someone else. See? They are not the purpose, they are not the goal. The goal is something else. So in this way, recognize that you are that pure consciousness which is of the nature, which is prajnanam, which is the knowingness. Then how this knowingness or this consciousness, this awareness, these are the words for prajnanam. What was the Mahavakya? Prajnanam Brahma. So how this awareness, how this consciousness is of the nature of Brahman is told in the next verse. चतुर्मुखेन्द्र देवेषु मनुष्याश्वगवादिषु चैतन्यमेकं ब्रह्मातः प्रज्ञानं ब्रह्ममय्यपि Prajnanam Brahmamayyapi. Therefore, consciousness is Brahman and that consciousness I am. This is the conclusion. But what is that before? Chaturmukhendra deveshu manushyaashvaga vadishu chaitanyamekam brahmataha prajnanam brahmamayyapi. There is but one consciousness in Brahmaji, Indra, gods, human beings, horses, cows, etc. Therefore it is called Brahma in the Mahavakya. In me also the same consciousness alone is. Hence I am also Brahman or Brahma. So in the previous verse we recognize that consciousness to be our essential nature, and in this verse we are making an attempt to see or come to a conclusion or come to a conclusionless conclusion that this consciousness alone is the consciousness which is pervading all the gods, all the beings, all the objects. And who are those gods? Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, Indra, etc., etc. Who are the beings? All the human beings, all the living beings in this universe. We don't know if there is any human beings or beings outside this planet, but at least we can say all the beings on this planet, all living beings on this planet, the same consciousness is expressing. And that consciousness I am. The moment our attention goes that this consciousness alone is expressing through the entire cosmos, all the objects, all the living beings, all the gods are pervaded by the same consciousness, and that consciousness I am, and this conclusion comes without a thought. At that very moment, Brahmatmaikya Bodh takes place. But you have to stay with this thought. Don't come to a conclusion. How did it take place? How did consciousness enter into the gods, enter into the animals, enter into the objects? If you start going into all that, then you are still in the mind. Everyone here in this room is consciousness. That consciousness I am. So it is this consciousness which is expressing through everyone. What does that mean? What does that signify? Does it mean that the consciousness is one per person, or does it mean that there is only one consciousness and I had I have understood it wrong till now in my life. And if I want to understand it correctly, then I have to just stay in myself with this contemplation. What is the consequence? What is the revelation that that same consciousness is expressing through everything and every being in this creation? What does it mean? And you wait, and you wait. Make that statement and don't think about anything else. When the wave recognizes that it is the water and that water is pervading all the waves, what will be the experience of that wave? It will no longer be a wave. Its waveness will get destroyed. It cannot identify with one form. At that very moment, its consciousness expands to infinity. At that very moment. But for that, that wave must maintain focus on what it means to, what does it mean that the same consciousness or the same water is expressing through all the waves? What does it mean? Isn't it? What is that experience? You cannot say, this is the experience, that is it. No, it is an experienceless experience, because the wave will not be there after that. For others it will be there, but for the wave itself who was contemplating, it will not be there anymore. So there is no one who comes back and says, Prajnanam Brahma. I know Brahman. There is no one who comes back and says that. You begin the seeking, you begin the journey, but when it clicks, as a result of you staying with that thought, with that idea, then there is no individual who will come back and say, now I know and you don't know.
But then how was the Upanishads written with all the Mahabharata?
Upanishads were not written by, they were revealed to rishis. They were revealed to rishis.
So they were the ones who wrote it, the rishis.
Yes, but it was revelation to them. It was not their intellectual acumen which came out as words. No. Vedas were revealed to rishis. See? Commentaries, Adi Shankaracharya gave a commentary on what was already there. But from where did we have the Shruti Granth, Smriti Granth, Itihas and not Puranas, Santa Vachan. So Shruti is that which is heard, that which is revealed. Smriti is that which is remembered. So those are the Puranas. That which is heard are the Vedas. Smriti is the Puranas. Itihas is Ramayana and Mahabharata. And Sant Vachan is self-explanatory, the words of the various. These are the four categories of scriptures, and Vedas or Upanishads, they were, because see, if you are, I don't know if you came to Prashna Upanishad. If you come to Prashna, in that the 6 students are there. They are married, they are educated, they have done lot of research in this world. They have done many things. They have every experience that was there to be gathered, they have gathered. Yet they are not peaceful. They say, we have searched, done everything in this world, still we are not finding solace within ourselves. There must be some other avenue. If world is not, science is not, intellectualization is not, then there must be another way. At that, they have done Havan, Home, they have done Japa, everything they have done. But they are not able to come to peace with themselves, because they want to be self-realized. And therefore they approach the teacher. After having done everything, after having lived the life, not escaped from life, They have lived the life, they were married, they had children, they have experienced the world with all its great things and bad things. Then they got disenchanted with it, so they thought maybe rituals will help. They did that, they did yoga, they did pranayam, everything they did, but nothing was concluding. It was not bringing up about a conclusion. Then they approach the teacher, and then the teacher guides them. See? So it is not for a one who escapes from the world. You live in your daily life with total inspiration. Automatically meditation will come to you. But because we don't live with zest in life, with inspiration in life, then tiredness comes to us. अरे यार अभी फिर खाना बनाना है, अयो, हाँ? अरे again now I have to do this, oh बाप रे, again vacuuming, अरे बाप रे, again washing clothes, अरे बाप रे, again satsang, अरे बाप रे. If you are continuously having that attitude, tamas is coming. You are attracting tamas from all directions. But if person is coming into your life, yahoo! Satsang is coming, yahoo! Sleep is coming, fantastic! Food is coming, I have to cook, do it joyfully. We are all guilty of it, but this is the correction that we have to make in our life. Then it is possible. Here Bhagavad Gita says, live dynamically and with inspiration in the outside world, but inwardly you be detached to it. See, in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita this comes. See? Because if you don't live with inward detachment, means no precipitation of impressions. But action has to be done. And what action has to be done is not determined by you. Action happens. Situations come and you have to respond. Hunger comes, you have to respond. People come into your life, you have to respond. Phone comes, you have to respond. You can't say, if I say, again she has called, I will not pick up because I saw the number. It's a reaction. It's a reaction. So we have to remain dynamic and live with joy, with inspiration in the outside world, doing whatever is required to be done as life is presenting it. But inwardly we have to be detached. Then there is growth possible. Because what will happen in that process? The number of impressions will start decreasing, because inwardly there is detachment. It does not matter whether I go or not go. Someone calls me for something. If it is possible, go. If it is not possible, don't go. Oh, if I'm going to go there, and get excited. Oh, I'm not going to go there. Oh, I should not have done that. What would that person feel? You are going the wrong way. Remain centered inside. Remain centered inside. And don't feel guilty or get excited about anything that is happening. For people, you do that. Someone just now told me, someone's daughter, she passed year 12. Swamiji, she got 88 point something. I know it is nothing in today's time, but I have to show fantastic. Life is not based on 88% or 93% or 99%. Life is much more than that. See? So when you have if you are a mother and someone else says 88, oh my God, poor girl, what this happened? Didn't she study? Huh? But if you have a bigger picture, that in life, study or no study is secondary, Life has its own way of taking you through. The moment you take that total position, your response to that person will be totally different. You see? Otherwise you get caught up in small, small things and react to small, small things or get excited by small, small things and remain identified with the mind continuously. Prajnanam Brahma is to first recognize that you are the conscious principle, the pure consciousness that in whose presence everything, the intellect is functioning, the mind with its emotions is functioning, all the senses are functioning. And then once you have weaned yourself away from the senses, from the mind, from the intellect, and come to be steady in that Sakshi Bhav, in that awareness, the next step is recognizing that this Sakshi, that this pure consciousness that I am, is one without a second. It is the same consciousness which is expressing through the entire cosmos, entire creation. And usually, when you study by yourself and you sit in meditation by yourself, it becomes very difficult to come to this conclusion. It becomes very difficult. And this is the point where a guru is required. That the teacher is telling you in a satsang, or like Ramakrishna Paramahansa, Totapuri Maharaj was telling him, and while he was speaking, he got transported. He went beyond everything. To recognize that this consciousness that I am is the same consciousness which is expressing through all the beings. This thought may come in your mind, but it will precipitate other thoughts. But when a teacher is speaking and is slowly guiding you towards it, you just glide into it and you don't think after that. This is the point where in your life, who is that person? That's not your concern. You come to that point, the teacher will appear in your life. It could be your wife or husband, reading from the book also. It's just, at that time, it's just that slight push to your mind to give up conceptualizing. Because right now it is a concept when I say that this pure consciousness that I am is the same consciousness which is expressing through all the living beings and things, isn't it? It's a concept right now. It's not your direct experience. But if I say you are that consciousness which is pervading all the zillions of cells in your body and all the organs, that is your direct experience. Aage bolo, I know that. Isn't it? But the other one, that you are the consciousness which is pervading, really? I can understand that I am pervading the whole body, but that I am pervading the whole universe, this I don't, it's not clicking. It's as easy as that.
But why do we identify only with one body, Swamiji? Even though, if everything you say makes sense, then why is my identity confined to one body?
You tell me,
Why is
you
that?
are experiencing it.
Everyone
Tell me
is
what,
everyone's
so what is the mindset that you have accepted? Do you celebrate birthdays? Do you remember what date you were born? So that is one concept. Are you afraid that you will die?
Not afraid, but I know I will die.
You know you will die.
Yes.
So that means that if you have accepted that you will die one day, it's already you have accepted that you are the body.
So like fish learn to know swimming when they are born, are we born with this connection to one body? Like if someone pinches me or my leg is hurting, even though everybody is sitting and many people's legs are hurting, I identify with the pain in this leg rather than in that leg. How come?
Because your mind has not expanded yet. Your mind is only pervading from top here till the toe. In meditation, by continuously taking the position not of the senses, not of the body, because body is senses, huh? Not of the organs, not of the mind. Slowly, slowly we wean back. The more we disidentify with things, to that extent the mind expands. Because mind is nothing but consciousness essentially.
Should I be able to feel others' pain and pleasure?
What will you do? You'll confuse yourself more.
So it doesn't have to happen.
It doesn't have to happen. You be truthful to your journey. Another person, who should we take? Swami Shivananda. He was moved from the core to see the people suffering in Rishikesh. So he built Divine Life, and with the eye hospital and and free treatment he used to give. He was a doctor. He felt that way. Another person, Kali Kamliwala, who built the Ram Jhula, he was moved from the core because he saw the hungry people. So he created, not for everyone, for sannyasis. He says, nowhere in this Himalayas, this kshetra, sannyasis are the most suffering. I'll create something, places from every few kilometers where sannyasis are able to stay, at least they have a bed to sleep and they get one meal to eat. Those who are traveling to Badrinath or Kedar. And today Kali Kamliwala is it's a totally charitable organization, and all sannyasis are able to stay free. But that was his purpose. But that purpose did not come because from the moment he was born. As he purified, as he lived, as he contemplated, for each one.
I think we
So you don't.
In a way, when the children suffer, especially when a child is suffering from earache or it's crying, the mother or father usually immediately feel the pain themselves.
They identify with them.
Yeah.
But that is out of attachment.
Attachment.
Ah.
So that's where I am getting a little bit. I understand intellectually what you're saying, but how to identify with the pain and pleasure of other people, and how
You
to
can't. You can't. Mother
my-
Teresa did. Are you Mother Teresa? No. So you identify with that principle which is naturally, spontaneously all pervading. And what is that? Consciousness. Is body all pervading? No. Are the senses all pervading? No. Is the speech all pervading? No. Is the mind all pervading? Not yet. It's still very contained. It's conditioned, it's limited. So as long as we are living at this level, it is very difficult to understand how can I. Many people want to do, but that feeling is not coming. Empathy is not there. Compassion is not there. That love is not there for accepting everyone. We have become so cold, we see so many news and everything on the news, and that someone is dying there, they show, please donate so much, this person is dying with hunger, or we see the news reel of people, children, homeless children, and they are standing in queue and they are fighting to get the food that is being dropped by the air, and we get our meal and we sit and eat and watch that. Total disconnect is there. Total disconnect. And that is how we have trained ourselves, that it's not happening to me, so it's okay, it's happening somewhere far away.
But is it wrong to feel hunger? Like my stomach is hungry. I don't know whether you're feeling hungry or not. If I am feeling hungry, I am able to feel my hunger. How closely am I able to identify with that hunger as opposed to your hunger? Why is that happening? Shouldn't I be, if I am expanding?
Because you have taken for granted that you are only this mind. You are only this body. That is why. Shirdi Sai Baba, he fed the dog, and the lady said, I cooked for 1 hour and brought you the food, you gave it to the dog. He says, if his hunger is satisfied, I am satisfied. You think I am other than the dog? Can you make that statement? You may make the statement that I love my children, but do you have this feeling that I am not other than the children? You can't make that statement.
But I want to be able to do
So as long as you look at finite objects, as long as you look at finite emotions, as long as you contemplate on finite concepts, you will remain in this cycle of uh, individuality. It will remain the same. You have to, you have the tool called mind, utilize it to think about something which is beyond the mind. That is the only way. So here, when we speak Prajnanam Brahma, that consciousness is Brahman, this is not a concept of the mind. The experience that when that eventually happens is out of your perception, out of your intellectualization. Yet we are using these words. We say we understand, but we have not really got it. Because if we understood, at this very moment you would be in meditation. Everything will stop for you if you really understood. We are just intellectually appreciating it right now. We are only intellectually appreciating it.
But that's all we can do, because
No.
if you can't
First-
to reach that level.
First stage is intellectual appreciation, but then it just becomes, what's next? That Mahatma said something, that is also we appreciate. This Mahatma says, we also appreciate. So many texts we have done, we appreciate only. But we are not applying it in our life. When we are intellectually appreciating, it must become a deep conviction that what is being said is the truth. What Vedas are telling is the truth. Prajnanam Brahma, it is the truth. Don't try to work it out in the empirical sense. It will not be possible. Empirical sense, in the worldly sense, it will not be possible. Because if you try to find a solution for this in the world, you will not be able to come to a...
We can't, because
Can't.
you were talking about the TV, the children are standing in the queue. Just watching, and if I don't eat tonight's meal, I can skip maybe 2 days or something. But I have to eat, I have to feed this body which I identify with, irrespective
As long
of how,
as long as you think, because you have a concept in your mind that your survival depends upon the food that you eat to nourish this body, till then hunger will come and it will trouble you.
So you think
Because there are people who live without eating. There are people who can stay without breathing for quite some time. There are many people.
Why? To prove
No,
what?
that is, it's not a question of why. There are people. So, if we are living with what we are trying to say is that if we have a concept in our mind that my survival depends upon eating food, then that becomes a reality. You are never going to go out of that reality then. See? If you think that I am going to die one day, then that becomes your reality, and then that concept is already taking you towards death. But if you read the scriptures, they say you are dying every moment. Change the concept that, hey, every moment the cells are dying, every moment the cells are being born. So which death am I waiting for? Which death am I waiting for? So if I say that I was born and I am going to die, this is the concept of the mind that I was born, and it is a concept of the mind that I am going to die. Whereas scriptures, that's why we come to study the scriptures, that consciousness never dies. So what does that mean, that I never die? Then why am I living with this concept that I am going to die one day? See, straight away, second chapter of Gita tells you that Atma cannot be cut, cannot be burnt, is not born, does not die. It is one without a second. And here we are living with a concept that we are going to die one day. We are concerned for our friends also, isn't it? That concern is because we have taken it for granted that we are individuals. You have to get out of that.
but how did I get that idea? Nobody
That
told me.
nobody knows. Nobody
So
knows.
it was born with me.
That nobody knows. For that again few concepts are given which can satisfy the intellectual itch. That's all. It's an intellectual itch. You are told because of your past things, you are got this body. Huh? Because of your past karmas, you got this. Because of past vasanas, you got this.
But even if you
But
notice a baby,
but from the consciousness point of view, there is no birth, there is no death. From pure consciousness point of view, from there is no birth, there is no death. There is no birth and there is no death. There is no body. Look at the water. Will water say that I have got so many, I have manifested myself into so many waves? Can it say that? It cannot, because it is everything that there is on the water, isn't it? Wave says because its attention is on its beginning and on its end, so it says I have got a shape. You say that I am an individual because I was born one day and I will die one day, that is separate part, but I have a beginning on the top and I have a conclusion at the bottom. I have a form. As long as our obsession is with the form, obsession is with the name which represents a form, we will remain in this individuality. If our obsession is with a name which does not conclude in a form, then there is a possibility to transcend form. So what is that word? What are those words which do not precipitate into a form in your mind? One word: space. It has got no form. Infinity, it has got no form. Eternity, it has got no form. All knowingness, it has got no form. All pervading, it has got no form. You think of these thoughts, you will rise above the identification. See? Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, Sat, Chit, Ananda, and all these Mahavakyas, Prajnanam Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi, Ayam Atma Brahma, and what is one more? Tattvamasi. Thinking about these thoughts, there is no conclusion. Because conclusion will result in a form, some idea, some concept, which will have a beginning and it will have an end. See? So therefore, lot of texts, lot of masters, they say contemplate on space. It has got no beginning and no end. So you go beyond the form.
No, isn't that what happens? Like when you take the example of the pot and the space, when you break the pot, the space in the pot merges with the space around you, and that's what happens to the human body after death. The consciousness, the individual consciousness merges into the total.
It was already the total consciousness. It is the same space which is inside the pot. But
Yeah,
because
but
the attention, listen,
yeah.
because the attention is on the pot, therefore you call it pot space. Because your attention is on your form, you are saying it individual consciousness. You don't need to break the pot in order to be the total space. It's already that. You don't need to die in order to merge and recognize yourself as the total consciousness. You are already that. But because your attention is on the form, you are saying individual consciousness. Because your attention is on the pot, you are saying pot space. But the quality of the space inside the pot and the quality of the space which is infinite is one and the same. Understand? So we are not, our all problem is we are putting attention on the form. And therefore scriptures are again and again telling you, put the attention on such thoughts which do not conclude in a form.
But
Do
once
not
you
conclude
put
in a form.
attention on the, right from birth, if you notice a child, immediately it cries or it wants attention, it wants to be fed. The thought of the individuality is right from that.
Immaterial, don't make it general. You are now becoming general. Spirituality is not general understanding. Spiritualist, you have to go into yourself at this moment. What is the issue? You are now generalizing that people are like this, children grow up.
No. I mean, I'm saying the individuality seems to have
It,
taken origin from
ठीक है, it's there. It's there. Everyone is born that way.
yeah.
Every human, every living being, including that insect or a mosquito,
Yeah.
is born the same way. A consciousness is expressing. All other living beings do not have this opportunity which human beings have to inquire, to recognize that this consciousness is actually the infinite consciousness. No other living being can do it. Not even gods can do it. If Indra wants to do it, he has to take birth as a human being. He also cannot do it. So if this opportunity is given, why you want to find out why I was born like this? You are born, or what can you do about it? Now what are you going to do with what you have? That is the question.
No, the game seems to be already loaded against us because it is.
If you have that concept, it will be very detrimental. Then that means poor me, the whole world is against me. No, whole world is conniving not to make me get realized.
That's not how I'm.
Aha.
Hello.
See how quickly your attention got distracted?
God.
We are talking about Brahman, pure consciousness.
This is also Brahman. This is also Brahman.
Attention is on form. This is form. That's where the attention went. If your attention is on space, remember when we began the topic, sometimes we sit in a space, eyes are open, senses are open, but we are not available to the stimuli. We are not available to the because our attention is on something deeper, something finer, something subtler. But we are not that way right now. We want to be. The intention is there, but the application is not there. First thing that comes, we get distracted. First thought that comes, we are ready to give it value. So here, who is this Brahma? Now first we talked about Prajnanam. Prajnanam was the consciousness recognized as the pure consciousness. We are essentially that in whose presence all waker consciousness, dreamer consciousness, deep sleep consciousness come and go. All the various relative roles that we play, they come and go. The intellect thinks and stops thinking. Emotions come and go. Senses come and go. All that is happening in my presence. Once we come to that, now what is this Brahman? We leave that aside, consciousness. Now what is this Brahman? Brahman is that which is bigger than the biggest. But what is that which can be bigger than the biggest? That which is subtler than the subtlest, that which is finer than the finest can be bigger than the biggest. Can an ice cube be bigger than the biggest? Not possible. But when that ice cube melts, becomes water, continues to go through the sadhana, it becomes water vapor, then it becomes, so compared to ice cube, water is subtle, compared to water, water vapor is subtle. But that same area that was occupied by an ice cube was only maybe 1 or 2 inches square. But now when it becomes water vapor, it is occupying quite a big area. It's pervading that much area. So the subtler or finer a material is, the more its pervasiveness is. Now that is a principle. In our daily world, as she said, the space is so subtle that it can go into a pot, and yet it is holding the whole universe. Why pot? Space is so subtle, so fine that it can go through a eye of the needle, and yet that same space is giving place or is accommodating the entire cosmos. That is smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest. even finer than that space is this consciousness. See? So, what is greater than the greatest? That alone which is finer than the finest. So, as long as I am considering myself to the body, I cannot recognize the consciousness. As long as I am thinking myself to be a feeling person, thinking person, I can suspect consciousness, but I have not known consciousness. I am still lost in that. So I have to go from world, I have to come to the body, from body I have to come to the breath, from breath I have to come to the mind, from the mind I have to wean myself away to the intellect, where in that intellect the only thought is that which does not lead to a conclusion. Then maybe the revelation of consciousness as it is will happen. Not through thought, as it is. Because it is a happening. Even though self is always there, as long as you are in the intellect, it will be only a thought. For there to be no thought and recognition that I am the consciousness without a thought to happen, it is the grace. We cannot think and get there. It is not possible. So that is Brahman. And what is this Brahman? Here it is told, Chatur Mukhendra Deveshu Manushya Shvaga Vadishu. It is that total consciousness, that pure consciousness, that total consciousness, that greater than the greatest consciousness, which is the same in everything and every being. That is that. If we can understand space is inside and outside everything. Now understand, consciousness is inside and outside of space also. So it is in the presence of space, in the presence of consciousness that even this infinite space is existing. Oh my God. This you have to contemplate. Don't just think of space as a word. Look at, bring into your infinite space. And that infinite space is being illumined by consciousness, is being pervaded by consciousness. And that consciousness I am. Wow. Sit with it. What is the significance of that statement? What is the significance of that statement? You can see the space outside in the world, you can see the mental space also. But that mental space is being illumined by the consciousness. And let that illumination be without a thought. That space is existing in my presence. I am pervading the total space. Stay with that thought without getting distracted by anything or anyone or any thought or any emotion or any pain. Stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. One day it will click. Yogis sit in meditation. Raman Maharshi sat in for 18 years. Then it clicked to him. It required that much time. Nisargadatta Maharaj, for 2 or 3 years he was in his room. Ramakrishna Paramahansa wanted to get to that point but could not. Could not. Impossible for him. Then Totapuri Maharaj helped him to go beyond the form. And here we are. In one class we want to click everything. It is possible. I am not denying it. It is possible if you are available. Not available to knowledge. You are available to yourself. Then it is possible. If you are available to the consciousness that you are, then it is possible. Right here and now it is possible. In fact, there has never been a moment that it was not possible. It's just that you are trying to objectify it throughout. Since you came to know, since you started your spiritual journey, you are objectifying it. You're looking for an experience, you're looking for an answer, you're looking for a conclusion, and it is not possible. See? And that is the frustration that comes due to objectification, due to wanting an answer. And when that answer doesn't come, then more questions come. Where am I going wrong? See? We have to get out of it. Learn to be quiet. For a change, if any question comes, tell him, come tomorrow. Any doubt comes, come tomorrow. Postpone it. No, but it is so important. Come tomorrow, I told you, yeah, go. Stay with the thought. Stay with yourself to the exclusion of everything else. Then there is the possibility. Or the other way is, this is not Vedantic way, this is not the thinking way. If the pain that I know that I'm convinced, but I'm not having this experience, and this non-abidance in the self, as the self, it brings about an intense pain of separation from yourself. If you feel that pain, like a devotee feels the pain of separation from the Lord, then that pain, which will result in tears and sleepless nights, and that pain will become it will purify your mind. That viraha, that sense that I know it and yet I'm not, God, will I come to know or not? And in that moment of contemplation, you will realize, you will cry, that nothing is in your hands. You want to remain in control and come to know what is self-realization, but not understanding that you have to give up all control, give up control of thinking also, give up control of the mind also. All concepts you have to give up control over. And that is the fear. And when you know that you are faced with this, that I have to give up all the concepts, that time a sense of helplessness comes. And that helplessness will purify you. It will shift the core. In that helplessness, everything will stop. You realize, all my efforts are not going to take me there.
Isn't that
Let thy will be done.
More than helplessness, shouldn't it be surrender?
That is surrender. Once you realize that you are helpless, that no amount of your thinking is ever going to bring about what you are searching, and then you wait. Once you come to this conclusion that let thy will be done, because I had tried everything and I have come to a naught, that is helplessness. At that very moment, if that helplessness is not taking you into depression and you recognize that it is by His grace alone that it will happen, call it Brahman, call it God, whatever. Don't get into all that words, whatever it is, wherever your attention is. At that very moment, that helplessness turns into surrender. At that very moment, everything that has to happen will happen. At that moment, if whatever next stage, next growth, next giving up, next detachment, whatever has to happen, it will take place. But access that, this is another time. One side was intellectualization and coming to stay with the thoughts of infinity, but the other side is this side. You can approach it from this side also. Make that pain into recognizing your helplessness, and that helplessness then making you resulting in surrender, and that where there is surrender, there and then whatever is meant to happen will happen. So this consciousness is of the pure consciousness that we essentially are, is of the nature of total consciousness, Brahman. This is being told in the second verse, and this is where initially, see, lot of yogis, they can recognize they are conscious. They go into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, there is no doubt that you are the consciousness. There is no doubt. There is no doubt in you, any one of you also, that you are conscious at this moment. The moment you open your mouth and you start thinking, that very moment you come down from that consciousness. You dilute it. In silence, it is fully available. While you are thinking, while you are acting, while you are feeling, while you are questioning, while you are studying, it is diluted. In silence, it is fully available. See? So right now, we all know that we are consciousness. We also know that this pure consciousness is the total consciousness. We know, but we are not it yet. See? So what is required to be done to convert this knowingness that this pure consciousness is total consciousness into being that total consciousness? What is required to be done? Stop thinking. Just be. Correct. Just be. Just be. So this is the journey. Recognize that, see, what is this pure consciousness is, we think that we have to do, we have to recognize, we have to be in control. When I feel hungry, or I have to do this, then this thing will happen. If I don't pay the bill, then I'll get a fine. If I don't drive in at a particular speed, etc., etc. So many questions, so many doubts, and you want to remain in control not only of your body, not only of your family, but also of your children, and you want to control the world also. That wherever your influence can extend. Isn't it? This is the journey of the ego. Wants to control, wants to show that adhipatya, that it is the boss, it is the controller. It does not recognize that there is another controller who is making the blood flow, who is making the heart beat, who is making the hair and nails grow, who is making the body grow from childhood till where you are today, who is making the breath go in and breath go out. Who is that controller? It has never thought about it. Arey yaar, I put so much effort in trying to keep all my relations, friendships, and control over everyone and everything, including inside my house and my body, by exercising, eating this, changing that, changing this. But there is this controller who is naturally doing, he never thinks. Think about it. He never thinks. He is, without thinking, he makes the blood flow. Without thinking, he makes the heart beat. Who is this fellow? Shift the attention. You will slowly, when you start thinking of that principle also, ego will start becoming weaker and weaker and weaker. And then you recognize, arey yaar, that same fellow is making everyone's blood flow. That same fellow is making everyone's heartbeat. Oh. As an ego who wants to maintain control, you will never come to know You can't even control your children, forget about the rest of the world, isn't it? You can't control your mind also. But when you put your mind to this type of thought, that who is that fellow? What is that control? Who is that controller who is controlling all the physiological functions? And not only in this body but in all the bodies. Oh my, suddenly your attention is shifting from your egocentric personality to total personality. Slowly you are moving from jivatva to ishwaratva, from individual to total. This option you have, you can think, because as long as you keep thinking I am, nothing is going to happen. You have to think something larger. Some higher idea has to be presented to the mind. And in that, this individuality will melt itself away, it will die its own death. Only to recognize that it was never the individual, it was always the total. It was always the total. Foolishly, I was taking myself to be the individual. This is the way we approach Prajnanam Brahma. What is the time? So we look at so atah prajnanam brahma. Therefore, this Chaitanya is called Brahma, one without a second, Mayapi Brahma, and I am not excluded from this total consciousness, total reality, the absolute. This is, why these words are there? Because we are thinking at this moment. So, when we are thinking in this manner, always apply everything subjectively. Don't look for an answer there. No, answer is you, the consciousness. So what do we get out of this whole lesson today? One thing, that that you are the pure consciousness. Essentially, don't give attention to those consciousnesses or those roles or those personalities which come and go. Don't give attention to that. Recognize you are the one in whose presence all these are coming and going. Whether it is mother personality, wife personality, sister personality, retired personality, whatever. Then once you come to once you come to know that you are that in whose presence everything is coming and going, then we have to recognize that this pure consciousness that I am is the one which is pervading everyone and everything. How it is pervading everyone and everything? A simple exercise we gave you, and that was, what was that one? That what is that power? Because consciousness is manifesting itself, isn't it? We are finding ourselves to be a manifestation. So from this manifestation we have to go beyond manifestation and unmanifestation. So what is that power? I'm tired of thinking. I know that I am the consciousness. I've got no doubt about it. Now how do I make this individual consciousness into total consciousness? Even though it is already, but how do I recognize it? Oh, I'll have to put the attention of this individual consciousness on something larger. What is the opportunity here? That individual consciousness always wants to control everything, wants to be the boss of everything, doesn't want to miss anything. It creates projects so that life continues, but there is another life principle, there is another consciousness. Without thinking, it is making everything happen, like the breathing and hunger and blood movement and etc. etc. And that consciousness, who really first become aware of it, then that consciousness is alone expressing through everyone and everything, all the living beings. It is a principle. And the more we remain with that, the knowingness will be turned into beingness. Important point is, again, we have to think such thoughts which do not conclude into some conclusion. That is the way. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnahat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Now the next Mahavakya that will be taken will be Aham Brahmasmi for inquiry. That we'll see in our next class on Wednesday. Hare.